In this equation, we are going to be looking at graphing some circles. I know you've done a little bit with circles before, but this is how it works. So, circles, just so you know, have this basic equation. You have x minus h squared and y minus k squared equals r squared. Notice the center of the circle comes from that h and k value, and then your radius, of course, is your radius. All right, so we're going to start out by just making an equation, first of all, for the information that we have regarding this circle, and then, of course, being able to graph it. So I am actually going to start out graphing it. My center is at -1, -5, so here it is right here. I've already graphed it for you, and then your radius is 2 units. So the easiest thing to do is to go 2 units to the right, 2 units up, 2 units to the left, and 2 units down. And that sort of gives you a way to connect your circles. I'm usually not very good at making a very good circle when I do that, but that's what your circle should look like and where it should be placed on your graph. Okay? Then if we need to make an equation for it, what you need to know is that this is your h value and this is your k value, and then you just simply plug it in. I'm going to use the equation for this circle, so I have x minus -1 squared plus y minus -5 squared equals 2 squared. And of course, if I simplify that, it's going to become x plus 1 squared and y plus 5 squared equals 4. Notice that what's here and what's here have the opposite signs. So when it comes in and or out of the parentheses, it kind of ends up switching signs because of this negative right here in the formula. Just to make you aware of that for some shortcuts later. Okay, so there's that first problem. All right, here's another one where I have the endpoints of my diameter, and you need to remember that the diameter is all the way, the whole distance across the center of the circle. The radius is halfway, the diameter is the whole distance. So first of all, in order to make the equation for the circle, I need to know the center. And the center for the circle is going to be halfway in between those 2 points. Now, in this case, I have it graphed, and I have it graphed very accurately, but when you're doing your homework, you probably won't sit and do this on graph paper, and it'll be hard to count, and it might not come out even, and all of that good stuff. So, first of all, in order to find the center of the formula, the center in this case, you'll need to use the midpoint. Okay? The midpoint is the center of the circle. So remember that the midpoint formula is the average of your x's and the average of your y's. So if I average my x's together, here's my x's. So I'm taking -4 plus 4 and divide it by 2. And then of course I have to average my y's. 2, 1 plus -5 divided by 2 gives you 0 divided by 2, which is 0, and -4 divided by 2, which is -2. So your center is at 0, -2. And when you graph that, that looks like it's probably about right. So your center will be right there. Okay? Now, when you make your equation then, this becomes your h, and this becomes your k. Okay? So when you plug it into the formula, you will have x minus 0 squared plus y minus -2 squared equals, now I don't know my radius. Okay? So I have to find that. I can see that this distance right here is your radius. So if you find the distance between your center and one of your endpoints, that will give you your radius. Okay? So here we go. Radius, is the distance from your center, which of course is 0, -2, to either one of your endpoints, and it doesn't matter. I am going to pick -4, 1. Okay? So here we go. Now I'm going to use the distance formula to figure this out. So, the distance, which in this case of course is the radius will be the square root of -4 minus 0 squared plus 1 minus -2 squared. -4 minus 0 is -4 squared is 16. 1 minus -2 is 3 squared is 9. So I will get the square root of 25, which of course is 5. Okay? So my radius is 5. kind of messy though. And then in my formula, in my circle formula, you have x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals your radius squared. Okay? Your radius is 5. Square it. And then, of course, if you simplify this, you don't need that minus 0 in there, so it'll look like that. The minus and negative 2 can be made to plus 2. And, of course, 5 squared we know is 25. So there's that one. So I'm going to go back and graph this circle a little bit more accurately. I have my center, and then, of course, I know I know my endpoints on my diameter, and so it will look, and this is really bad, but something like that. Your radius, you'll go 5 this way, 5 this way, 5 this way, 5 any direction, basically. I could have gone from here and gone 5, and that's why this point should be way over here, and from the center and gone up 5, and that point should be way up there, and the left 5 and down 5. So really, if I were to make this a little bit more accurately, my circle should have looked more like that. Okay, so that's a little bit better. All right, and then we've got another one here. It's centered at 3, negative 2, which I already have graphed for you. And then tangent to the y-axis. Tangent means that it brushes the y-axis. That's what being tangent to something means, okay? So the circle brushes the y-axis. So here's my center, and my circle has to brush the y-axis, or barely touch the y-axis. Here's the y-axis right here, and it's going to brush this spot. So this would be the x-axis. If it was tangent to the x-axis, this edge of the circle would go through that point right there. But it's not. It's tangent to the y-axis, so that means the edge of the circle is going to have to brush this point right here. That tells you that the radius of the circle is 3. And so when you know that, then you can go 3 down, and 3 left, and 3 up. And there's where the edge of the circle will be. So you can see where that circle is going to end up just grazing by that y-axis, or touching it in that one spot right there. Okay? So we can see the radius is 3. We already know that the center is hk. So when I plug this into my formula, oops, I don't want y, I want x. I will have x minus 3 squared plus y minus a negative 2, which I think you can figure out becomes plus 2, equals my radius. And I already have my radius over here. This distance right there is 3, so 3 squared right there. And of course we know that 3 squared really is 9. And so I'm going to just erase that so I don't have to write everything all over. And that becomes 9. And here is the equation for my circle.